welcome back to the Andrew and Ian Show. I'm Andrew Sorek here again with Ian. Hi, Ian. It's another Thursday, another preview day. Of course, how you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing pretty good. A lot of excitement going around so far. So getting playoff baseball, a lot to go around eventually.
Yeah, and the NHL preseason's in full swing, so it's nice to see a lot of prospects, especially us Detroit fans, playing well. So that's always good, of course. But yeah, let's get right into it here today. Starting with the NFL. Right now, we got the Giants hosting the Cowboys. Cowboys are up 7-6 right now, about midway through the. Or not the Cowboys are up 14-6 now. They just scored actually about midway through the second quarter here. Dallas came into this game a 5.5 point favorite in this one. Dallas has struggled to start the year. They're 1-2 this year. They lost their last two games, both at home, and the Cowboys haven't done that in a very long time to start the year. Losing their first two home games, back to back. It's been I forget when it was, but it's been a very long time for them. I am taking Dallas to win this game, of course. Dallas, ultimately, I still think they're a better team. Yes, they have struggled so far to start the year, but Daniel Jones is hot garbage, and when you don't have a quarterback, it's very hard to win in this league. So I'm going to take Dallas to win this game and cover that 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Dallas has been struggling a lot this year. I mean, they had the week one win against the Browns, but that's the Browns, so it's not really much, to say. But at this point, you're a Dallas fan. You have lost your past two home games, and we all know Dallas. They win games in Jerry's World, and they win them by like 40 plus. They haven't been doing that. You got to be concerned. Right now, they are up against the Giants. I do have them winning this game and covering. But if they don't cover and they still win, you got to have a lot of concern for that team.
Yeah, Dak hasn't been super efficient this year with the football. I mean, he's been better. He's above average when it comes to into efficiency, but he's not that, top, 15, top 12 quarterback that he's been the last few years. He's definitely dropped in terms of his efficiency, but I think, I mean, in total, I don't think it's as bad of a drop as it would be because, I mean, again, offense is down this year. Efficiency for quarterbacks is also down this year, so it's just part of it. But yeah, I think the Cowboys should win and cover this one, no problem. It is the Devil's number though, but the Giants are just so bad. The Jets host the Broncos, kicking off Sunday afternoon. The Jets a 7.5 point favorite in this one. Look, Bo Nix still hasn't passed for a touchdown this season. He has ran for some, but Aaron Rodgers, he's still cooking. As old as he is, he's still got it, man. He's not nearly as mobile as he used to be, of course, but through the first 3 weeks of this season, he's looked pretty solid. Week one, he looked a little shaky, but it wasn't a terrible game for him. But the last 2 weeks, he's looked really good. Bo Nix is, I think, maybe starting to turn that corner because the first 2 weeks, he did not look good at all. But last week, he actually looked a lot more comfortable. He looked a lot more calm. Yes, he didn't throw for a touchdown, but he did just look more comfortable in the pocket and scrambling as well. So that said, though, I am going to take the Jets to win. I don't think they cover that 7.5. I think Jets will win this by a touchdown. I expect the Broncos' offense to get better with Bo Nix, but this Jets defense is really, really good, so they're going to struggle, I think, offensively. But give me the Jets to win this one.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think the Jets do win this one, but I don't think they cover just because it's at 7.5. I think they can win by a touchdown simply because that Denver offense is not good. It's not good by any means so far. I mean, yeah, they put it to the Bucks last week, but it was mostly their defense. They got to Baker Mayfield a ton. They forced turnovers, and with Aaron Rodgers, he's a different man than Baker Mayfield. Granted, he's less mobile than Baker Mayfield, so you might be able to get to him a little more, but at the end of the day, I think the Jets walk away with with this one and they don't cover.
And also too, Baker's also not only more mobile, but he's also a hell of a lot younger. So that could definitely play a factor in it. But also too, the Tampa Bay offensive line is pretty beat up. Not as bad as either of the LA teams, I would say, because we know the Rams situation, but the Chargers lost some starters. And the Chargers lost some starters last week, especially Joe Alt, their first round pick this year. They lost him. So, yeah, but Tampa's front is definitely bad right now. But yeah, the Broncos are going to need to step up this week, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I think. I think the defense can do a decent enough job to keep them in it, but they're going to need some magic to win this game. The Packers host the Vikings. The Packers, a 3-point favorite. Look, Sam Darnold, out of nowhere, has just turned into a really good quarterback. He's got the best QBR, I believe, in the league right now. He's one of the top passing leaders. He's looking really good. Now, Justin Jefferson obviously plays a big role in that. So does Jordan Addison. They're making him look a lot better. He also, for the first time in his career, has an offensive line in front of him that actually can block. So that's definitely also helping him out quite a bit. The Packers, obviously, I believe Jordan Love is still out. I haven't seen the injury report for them. Actually, might be able to pull it up here.
He was limited today.
So Jordan Love is questionable. So there's a good chance he's playing. If he does play, I think Green Bay can actually win this game. Even though, don't get me wrong, Malik Willis has been good subbing in for Jordan Love. He's been really, really good. Especially for a backup, you wouldn't expect the kind of production that they've gotten out of him, but they've gotten some very good production out of him in these last 2 weeks. So either way, I'm taking the Packers to win and cover that 3. I think they do actually win it by a field goal, so there's your cover right there. This is going to be somewhat lower scoring of a game. It is in Lambeau, so it's a tough environment to play in the NFL. It's a division rivalry. I'm going to go with the Packers here, either way with Jordan Love or Malik Willis. However, Vikings have a better chance if Malik Willis plays.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are playing out of their minds right now, right? 3-0. No one really expected this. Sam Darnold is looking like a very competent quarterback right now. But, like you said, this is in Lambeau. This is the Packers' home. They find ways to win games at home. Whether or not it's in controversy at the end of the day, a win is a win, right? I will take them to cover just because it is a field goal. And like I said, Green Bay can find a way to win at home by a field goal. But if Jordan Love is playing in this one, I would take them to cover by, more than just that 3 easily. But give me the Packers to give the Vikings their first loss.
Yes, sir. The Falcons host the Saints. The Falcons, a 2.5-point favorite in this one. The Falcons started the year off slow, but Kirk Cousins especially did, but now he's starting to find himself again, which is really, really good. You want to see that. Derek Carr, the first 2 weeks of the season, was on fire. Last week, he got shut down pretty well, though. This is going to be a very, very close game. I feel like it's going to be a little bit higher scoring, but not too high, and it's going to be close this entire way. I am going to roll with the Falcons. Again, another division rivalry this week. I think the Falcons are just the better all-around team. The first 2 weeks, I was kind of wondering, is this sustainable for Derek Carr, his level of play, and it dropped in week 3. Now, he might bounce back, he might not, but the Falcons are getting better. So this is going to be a very interesting game, but I am going to roll with Atlanta to win and cover that 2.5.
Yeah, it's a divisional game. It's always going to be tough, and when you're playing in the NFC South division, they always like to tear themselves apart. So I'm going to take the Falcons to cover in this one. It is at home for Atlanta. Derek Carr for New Orleans came back to earth last week, and honestly, Atlanta should have came away with the win last week against the Chiefs. So give me Atlanta to win by more, just even double that 2.5, because they want revenge for that KC loss.
Yeah, it's they should have won last week, absolutely. But I just think this is going to be a pretty close game, regardless. But they at least win by a field goal. The Bucks host the Eagles. The Eagles just a 2-point favorite in this one. The Bucks have had a decent start to the year. Baker's at least found his home. He's found his footing in the NFL. He's done a really good job. That offensive front is just beat the hell up. Give me the Eagles to win and cover here. They got a pretty strong defensive front. They have a pretty good offensive line still this year. They're cooking offensively. They're just doing a really good job. And so yeah, give me the Eagles to win. Give me the Eagles to cover that. I just think the Eagles defense is going to eat a lot this week, and it's going to be a problem for Tampa until they get that offensive line healthy.
Yeah, I kind of thought that 2 points to Philly was a little disrespectful to him. That defensive line for Tampa is missing Vita Vea, so that's a big piece in stopping Saquon Barkley, and it's missing. So Saquon, I'm looking for him to have a really big week this week. On top of, like you said, that Tampa Bay offensive line is beat to shit. There are so many replacements, and how even third stringers in there, and it's like at this point you have guys like Jalen Carter on the other side coming in. Granted, we know the Eagles secondary, even with guys like Darius Slay and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, it's not the best. They can be exposed. But when your pass rush is getting to the quarterback, that gives your secondary time to get some picks. So that Philly defense is going to feast, and I think Philly wins this one and covers easily.
Yeah, considering Tampa's injuries, I thought that only 2 to Eagles was quite disrespectful. But I forgot about Vita Vea being out as well. Yeah, that's gonna hurt Tampa defensively, and Philly can run the ball very, very effectively so far this year. So yeah, I think the Eagles can win this one pretty handedly. The Panthers host the Bengals. The Bengals, a 4.5-point favorite in this one. And you know what I say about 4.5, 5, and 5.5. That's the devil's number. Give me the Panthers to win. Look, we found out the problem in Carolina. It's Bryce Young. Andy Dalton stepped in last week, lit up for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked incredible. The Bengals, while they should be 1-2, they should have beat the Chiefs in week 2. They ultimately didn't. They've kind of struggled offensively this year, and defensively, they're not nearly as strong as they were last year. Give me the Panthers to win this one, man.
Yeah, I think, even with T. Higgins coming back last week, it wasn't enough for the Bengals. They're 0-3 right now. It's not a good start for them. You think at some point they're going to turn it around, right? I'm with you. Give me the Panthers. Anthony Dalton he looked like a stud last week, and like we said, Bryce Young might be the issue, and all signs are definitely pointing to that might be it. So yeah, give me the Panthers, and they will not win by 4.5, but they will win.
They'll win it by a score. We'll just leave it at that. The Texans host the Jaguars. Houston, a 6-point favorite in this one. Obviously, tough loss last week for the Texans. They could not get anything going offensively. And that it sucks. You're gonna expect them to get better this week. The Jacksonville defense is fairly good, but it's not as good as what they saw last week. And the Jacksonville not defense, their offense is just awful. Trevor Lawrence is not the guy who everyone thought he would be. Thank God the Lions didn't draft him. Yeah, I'm going to take the Texans to win, and they cover that 6. I think they can win this by at least 7, probably more, though. I just think, Trevor Lawrence has struggled. The entire offense has struggled. The run game, the pass game, everything. So, yeah, give me the Jags, or not the Jags, give me the Texans to win big here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Houston to have a big bounce back game. Normally I'd say a divisional matchup would be pretty tough, but Houston just came off a really bad loss to Minnesota, and they're gonna want to bounce back. Now, I don't know if Joe Mixon is back or not this week, but even if he isn't, I think CJ Stroud is gonna have a field day in the air. I don't think the Jacksonville team is good in any capacity. I saw a comparison. Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones, pretty much the same career stats, and through Trevor Lawrence's amount of starts. And I think he's thrown more picks and less touchdowns than Daniel Jones, and that's not something you want, right? So yeah, give me Houston to win big here.
Trevor Lawrence just has 2 touchdowns, 1 interception on that. Also, Joe Mixon is labeled as questionable, so there's a chance he plays. Again, my rule of thumb is if you're questionable, there's like a 99% chance you're playing in that game. So yeah, the Colts host the Steelers. The Steelers, a 1.5 point favorite here. Um, Look, the Steelers got the best run defense in the league right now statistically. Um, Problem, their offense can't score. Justin Fields has definitely played better than any of his time in Chicago so far through 3 games. Again, proof that Chicago can't develop a quarterback. But man, it's such a tough game because Anthony Richardson, I don't think he's that guy. Again, he is a glass cannon. He makes some great throws, but then he also makes a lot of stupid throws and stupid mistakes. And it's just like, man, what are you doing? Give me the Steelers to win and cover in this one. I think this is going to be a really, really low scoring game unless Anthony Richardson can figure it the fuck out. But I haven't seen anything indicating that he will ever figure it the fuck out because, again, he just makes stupid mistakes with the ball over and over and over again. It's the same mistake over and over and over again. And he's also too quick to run sometimes. So it's just like, man, figure something out. And again, Jonathan Taylor's had a pretty good year so far, but running the ball against this Steelers team is very, very hard to do. And it's going to make the Colts one-dimensional. And with Anthony Richardson, it's going to make you zero-dimensional, realistically, unless Anthony Richardson can figure it the fuck out this week.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Steelers have, I think, the statistically the number one run defense, and Jonathan Taylor right now to date hasn't had the greatest season. 51 carries for 200. I think it's 261. Oh, wait, yeah, 261 yards on 51 carries with 3 touchdowns. So it's not the greatest, but it's not the worst either. But when you're facing like the number one run defense in the league at the time, it's going to be tough. It is a home game, but like you said, if Anthony Richardson keeps being dumb with the ball and throwing pick after pick, he has double the amount of interceptions as he does touchdowns right now. He has 6 picks to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that he's 2 to 1 interception to touchdown this year, and he's 36 for 73. So he's under 50% completion percentage as well. 36 for 73 this year. That is awful. Um, and yeah, Jonathan Taylor hasn't had a strong year, and statistically, the Steelers do have the best run defense. This is going to be a very tough game for Indy. I know their defense can at least do a pretty good job against the Steelers' offense because the Steelers' offense sucks. They've scored like 2 touchdowns, I think, in total this year, something like that. So, but yeah, give me the Steelers to win this in a very low-scoring game.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Steelers in a very low scoring game, and they still cover because it's a 1.5 point.
Yes. The Bears host the Rams. The Bears just a 3 point favorite in this one. I'm kind of shocked by that, but I'm also not, considering that Caleb Williams is, not playing too well so far to start the year. But the Rams, super beat up offensive line, just like Tampa Bay. This is going to be another low scoring game, I think. Because, again, the Bears offense can't really do anything. And really, neither can the Rams offense, due to the fact that they don't have an offensive line to protect Stafford. Stafford is just the reason why he hasn't been sacked so much this year is obviously we know as Lions fans just how experienced he is and how good he used to be at just getting the ball out quick so he couldn't get sacked, especially when it was his first couple years and he had no offensive line help. He had to get rid of the ball fast every single play, otherwise, he'd get killed. Um, Give me the Bears to win this game in a very, very low scoring one. They don't cover that 3 though. They're going to win by 2 or less.
I'm gonna take the Rams in this one. I think they're gonna ride the high of upsetting the 49ers here. Matt Stafford played his ass off. Kyron Williams had a great game, and to come back like that against one of the supposed, Super Bowl favorites in the NFC, while being that beaten, it just shows you, what kind of veteran Matthew Stafford really is. He used to play for Detroit. We knew him for being, that tough son of a bitch that would always, want to play, especially after, what he did against the Browns, breaking his shoulder, separating his shoulder, and throwing the game-winning touchdown pass, right after it, stuff like that. So this is a typical Matthew Stafford game, right? He's gone to Chicago and Soldier Field how many times with the Lions? Twice a year. He's done this time and time again. He's going to be comfortable. I think the Rams walk away with this one.
That's a interesting take. I might change my pick on that one. I'll think on that one. Because I didn't factor in the experience at Soldier Field part, and also the win over the Niners last week, who might be in trouble. The Cardinals host the Commanders. The Cardinals a 3.5-point favorite in this one. Look, these are two high-flying offenses. They're two of the best offenses statistically so far this year. They aren't the best statistically, but they're definitely up there. Anyways, Jayden Daniels had a great game this past Monday. I almost said Sunday night, but I forgot they played Monday night. He had a really good game statistically. Threw for some touchdowns, ran for one. Really, really good game from him. The Cardinals, they have 2 losses on the year, but offensively they're a lot better this year, especially thanks to Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to take the Cardinals to win this game. I think the Cardinals' defense is a little bit better than this Commanders' defense. Again, this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I mean, the total is at 50.5, which I think that could definitely go over, considering the defensive play of the Commanders especially. But give me the Cardinals to win. Give me the Cardinals to cover this one as well. I just think Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, they're one of the best combos right now in the NFL. So yeah, give me the Cardinals to win and cover.
Yeah, I think I'm with you here. I'm gonna take the Cardinals and they cover. I'm looking for Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. to have a bounce back game after being, reasonably held in check by the Detroit defense. That was kind of shocking. More on the aspect of the Lions might have a better defense than we think, but more on that later. But like I said, I'm looking for them to have a bounce back game. Obviously, if you're Washington, what you saw with Jayden Daniels and what they did against the Bengals last week, you're really excited, right? I mean, you're out there having fun. You're coming back. You're winning like that. You're putting Joe Burrow and the Bengals at 0-3. Like that's a good feeling. They're sitting at 2-1 right now. At the end of the day, I think they're going to be 2-2 after this one.
Yeah, I think both these teams walk away from this game 2-2. It's just, it's a tough spot, I think, for the Commanders. They are playing very, very well. Don't get me wrong. And I think they do have a chance to win this game because Jayden Daniels, by far the best quarterback in this class so far. And it's kind of reminiscent of C.J. Stroud last year. So, but yeah, I just think the Cardinals' veteran quarterback play is gonna help the Cardinals win this one. The Niners host the Patriots. The Niners a 10-point favorite in this one. The Niners are struggling, man. That offense needs Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel so bad, and they're going to be out this week. The Patriots also suck, though. So I'm going to take the Niners to win. I don't think they come close to covering that 10. I think you're going to see, at the very most, a 7-point win out of the Niners. But I am going to take the Niners to win this one. I think they're just much better all around, even though this offense is awful without Debo and Christian McCaffrey. The defense is still solid. So, yeah, and the Patriots offense blows chunks, man. They are so fucking bad. So give me the Niners to win, but they don't cover that 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you here. That Niners team right now, without Debo and Christian McCaffrey, and I mean, even we saw it last year when they, came off the bye without them and lost 3 games in a row after starting 5-0. It was, that's the epitome of this team. They have all of this star power, but as soon as they're out, they fall back to earth and they come crashing down hard. Now, like you said, on the flip side, the Patriots aren't the greatest team, and we've seen what a competent quarterback and, somewhat serviceable offense in the Jets can do to this team. The defense in New England is pretty damn good. I'll give them that. But, they lost 24-3 to the Jets last week. It's not a good look. This team isn't good at the end of the day. So beating the Bengals week 1, it's looking less and less more impressive as the season goes on, especially if the Bengals do fall to 0-4. You lost to the Seahawks in a very close game, which I believe, it did go into overtime. So holding, Seattle and taking them to overtime, I'll give you credit for that right now. So you can play a better team pretty close, but the Niners at the end of the day are on a different level than Seattle, even without Debo and Christian McCaffrey. That defense is still there. That Niners defense is still going to be there. And like the Jets, I feel like this is going to be a similar game where I don't think they cover that 10, but it's going to be very, very bad for this New England team. They're not going to have a very good day offensively.
No, they certainly won't. And, yeah. The Raiders host the Browns. The Raiders a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Look, both these teams aren't good. They really, really aren't. Deshaun Watson really sucks. He does. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he's not Bryce Young. Don't get me wrong there. But he's just not good. The Raiders, on the other hand, they just don't have anything. The only bright spot on this Raiders team is Max Crosby, who also said that if the Raiders weren't on the table, what team would you like to play for? He said the Lions. Granted, he is a Michigan man, so there's probably a little bit of bias in there for him. But I think the Lions should trade for him, honestly, and we can discuss that on a different episode. But give me the Raiders to win this one. I think the Raiders, while they are a floundering team, so are the Browns, and I got no answers for the Browns, because on paper they should be a lot better than 1-2. They should be at least 2-1 on paper, or maybe even 3-0. But Deshaun Watson sucks. That's all you can really say. The Raiders have played pretty well this year. I mean, they're not world beaters by any means, and they're probably going to have a losing record this year. But give me the Raiders to win this one and to cover that 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is like the toilet bowl game of the week. Neither of these teams are very good at all. But I do think the Raiders, with Max Crosby, EMU guy, as, someone who went to EMU, I really, I love to see him perform well, and I love to see him, have the influence that he has on this game. I think he's going to have a big day. Deshaun Watson is not a good quarterback whatsoever. He likes to touch people more than he likes to get into the end zone. Give me the Raiders to win and cover. I'm sorry, he allegedly got charges, but
you already know. The Chargers host the Chiefs. Chiefs a 7-point favorite in this one. The Chiefs might be the worst 3-0 team I've ever seen in my lifetime. They are 2 bad calls, 2 very controversial calls, and 1 inch away from being an 0-3 team this year. That is how not good the Chiefs really are. On NFL's power rankings, they're number 1. They shouldn't be. It should be Buffalo, but I digress. I genuinely do not know how the Chiefs are the number 1 team on the power rankings, given the fact that 2 controversial calls and 1 inch of toe are the only reason why they're 3-0 instead of 0-3 to start the year. Like, realistically, they should be either 0-3 or 1-2. Like, if you really, really think about it. But anyways, the Chargers, they lost their entire offense. Joe Alt's gone. Justin Herbert's more than likely not playing with that high ankle sprain. Um, let's see. You got Hayden Hurst. He's out. Joey Bosa's out. Um, and that's on the defense, but still, I mean, they're beat the fuck up. Give me the Chiefs to win this one and to cover. It'll be their first legitimate win this year. Yeah, I got nothing to say. It's just, I feel like the Chargers would keep this close if they weren't so beat the fuck up. But they were really beat the fuck up. So give me the Chiefs to win and cover.
Yeah, I really hate to say it, but yeah, give me Kansas City to win and cover. There's just not much to say. They're always going to find ways to win, whether it is controversial or just through, the sheer, talent that they do have on their roster. At the end of the day, on paper, their roster is very talented. Even with their rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy, he's going to be a hell of a deep threat. And Patrick Mahomes, we all know he can sling that ball. But the fact of the matter still stands that Patrick Mahomes remains the quarterback who has the most interceptions called back due to defensive penalty. And how many of those are shrouded in controversy? It is what it is. But at the end of the day, the Chargers offense beat the shit. The defense is trying to play catch up on that. Chiefs win and cover.
Yeah, I forget who, but it's one of the safeties for Atlanta. I saw a meme today saying that this was a fake quote, but he said the reason why I'm able to pick off Patrick Mahomes so many times, which he's done it like 4 times in the past couple meetings that he's had with them. The only reason why I've picked him off this much is because I just look for the ref that has his flag in his hand, so that way I know where the ball's going. And that's how he gets his interceptions off Patrick Mahomes, because you already know you could be 10 feet from the receiver for Kansas City, and you're still going to get PI for it. So, yeah. Sunday Night Football, we got the Ravens hosting the Bills. The Ravens, a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Obviously, the Ravens last week on the road, nice big win over the Cowboys. A very tough place to play, but the Ravens have not looked good to start the year. And they got lucky last week getting that win in a game where it could have gone either way, and it just happened to fall their way. The Bills are cooking. Did you see Josh Allen's quote from, I think it was yesterday? He's about like just why. Someone asked him why he thinks the offense is playing so well to start the year, and he said yeah, it's very fun when you have a locker room with a bunch of guys that don't care about stats. Pretty sure he was taking a dig at someone, but anyways, I'm gonna take the Bills to win this one. I don't know how Baltimore's favored in this one. I get it's a tough place to play, but the Bills are just looking really good on both sides of the ball, especially on the offense here, where the Ravens has kind of floundered on both sides of the ball, especially on offense. So give me the Bills to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of confused just as much as you are with the Ravens being favored. We haven't seen much from them outside of almost beating Kansas City, literally being a toe from beating Kansas City week 1. They almost lost to the Cowboys. They were up. What was it, like 21-3 or something like that? And going into half, something like that. It was ridiculous. And then 28-25 final. Ravens fans got to be tired of this at this point. They see so many games, and they've seen the opposite end of it so many times where they're up multiple scores, 2 to 3 scores, with 3 minutes left in the third quarter and the entire fourth, or, 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they lose those games. They see it time and time again. And granted, it went their way against the Cowboys. The Bills are a better team than the Cowboys right now. The Cowboys are not performing well whatsoever. So give me the Bills on this one.
Yeah, it was 21-6 Baltimore at halftime last week and 28-6 going into the fourth quarter. and they just barely lucked out beating Dallas there. So
You give up 19 consecutive points
yeah,
in the fourth quarter.
exactly. Uh, and then Monday Night Football, we finally only have one game again. Please, NFL, never do two Monday night games. Please, just give me one Monday night game, please, for the love of God. We got the Lions hosting the Seahawks. The Lions, a 3.5 point favorite in this one. Look, Dan Campbell's kryptonite is no longer in Seattle. This is a different Seattle team than it was the last few years, where the Lions just found ways to lose to Seattle. I think that's gone. I think the kryptonite was Pete Carroll. Give me the Lions to win here. The offense has not looked good to start the year. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are really the only bright spots. Sam Laporta has not existed pretty much this entire in the first 3 weeks. Amon-Ra starting to get going. Waymo season is here, though. Oh, also Mobile Goff exists now. And look, Seattle hasn't played a real defense so far this year. And, Geno Smith, I don't think he's that good. And the Seahawks defense hasn't played a legitimate quarterback this year. They've played some decent offenses outside of the quarterback, but now they have to face Jared Goff, who is one of the best QBs in the league. I'm sorry to say to a lot of you Goff haters, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Not statistically this year, but in years prior. Give me the Lions to win. They don't cover that 3.5. This is going to be not a low-scoring game, but not a high-scoring game either. It's going to be somewhere around like a 28-25 like we saw with Baltimore and Dallas last week. Somewhere around there. Give me the Lions to win, but they don't cover that 3.5.
Yeah, this is the game I'm really looking forward to on Monday night. I don't really care what goes down between Tennessee and Miami. I'm paying attention to Seattle and Detroit. I want to see Detroit exercise their demons against Seattle. It's been, 3 years in a row that we've had Seattle on the schedule, and we've lost. We had the 1 year where the Seattle player very obviously batted the ball out of the end zone. The other, just very poor losses to Seattle time and time again. It's time for the Lions to beat Seattle. I'm going to take the Lions to win, and they're going to cover. They're going to win this one by a touchdown.
I just don't see how they're going to cover with the way the offense has performed this year. But, I mean, I think they're going to win. Don't get me wrong, but the offense has just not been good this year. Outside of really Gibbs and Montgomery, they're the only two that's really done anything for this offense in terms of production, because the receivers, you kind of got to leave them out of it because Jared Goff isn't playing that well. So obviously the receivers are going to suffer because of that. But the Lions still got to work on the red zone offense. That's the most important part of this. And Dan, you have a fucking kicker now. Use him. Just use him. So that's going to wrap up the NFL. So we're going to slide now on over to the NCAA, the top 25, of course, because we don't give a fuck about anyone that's unranked. So let's kick this off tomorrow night. We got number 7 Miami hosting Virginia Tech. Miami, a 17.5-point favorite in this one. Look, Virginia Tech, they're a program that's on the rise again in the ACC. They just don't have the talent level yet to get to be competitive consistently. But I feel like that program's still moving in the right direction. That said, Cam Ward is elite. Miami's team has been elite really all year. Mario Cristobal hasn't found a way to lose a game yet, which is like mind-blowing to think about because we're already 4 games in and he hasn't found a way to lose a game. Maybe he's starting to become competent. I doubt it, but you never know. But give me Miami to win. Give me Miami to not cover that 17.5. I feel like they'll win it by exactly 17, so they just barely miss out on covering here. Cam Ward is, again, elite, and that offense is just way too good. It's also a home game for Miami, so, yeah, give me Miami to win.
Yeah, I am also taking Miami to win. That 17.5 is a little hefty. I mean, I'm looking at their week 1 win against Florida because it is an SEC team that they did beat 41-17. But is Virginia Tech better than Florida? That's kind of where I'm at with this.
I would say yes.
So yeah, I'm leaning towards Miami and Cam Ward. He's going to continue his Heisman, campaign. He's already at almost 1,500 yards passing, 14 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Yeah, so that's a 7-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I'd say that's pretty goddamn good through 4 games. Yeah, give me Miami to win.
Yeah, I think they can cover that 7.5. The offense is there, but I just feel like with the conference game, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But we know how good Miami is, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But this is going to be the real first test of their defense. But yeah, that's where I think Virginia Tech might score not a lot, but a decent amount to at least keep it within that 17.5. Number 12, Michigan. Big noon Saturday, hosting Minnesota. Michigan a 10-point favorite in this one. Look, Minnesota struggled to start the year. They're 2-2 as of right now. Who did they play? Let me just look right now. So they lost to North Carolina week 1. And then their other loss was to Iowa. So they've only beat up on really shitty schools, and they lost to a pretty shitty school in North Carolina. Michigan has struggled, though, offensively to start the year. Now, obviously, Alex Orji finally got his first start. Got a nice win against USC last week, although the second half offense really did struggle compared to the first half. And same with the defense. But Michigan's defense is elite here. Give me Michigan to win. Give me Michigan to cover, but they barely cover. I think they win it by 10. I don't see how this Michigan team is going to run the score up on anyone this year, even if they are a shit team like Minnesota. So yeah, give me Michigan to win, and they cover that 10, but either by 10 or 11 points. They win. They cover hitting 10, or they hit 11 points. Either way, they cover.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be another game where Michigan wins it with under possibly 50 yards passing. I mean, we all know they have struggled heavily at the QB position, but yet somehow they're, sitting 3-1 at the year. That one loss being to Texas. At the end of the day, Minnesota isn't the greatest. Michigan's defense is going to be the key in this one. And, as long as they got that defense playing, their hearts out, this Michigan team can hang with pretty much anyone outside of, Ohio State and the top, 10 teams, and that's why they're sitting there at number 12 right now. But yeah, give me Michigan to win and cover.
Yeah, it's at least nice to see that the AP poll is consistent with the games, because Michigan beat USC, USC beat LSU, and you got Michigan 12, USC at 13, and LSU at 14 in the rankings. So it's nice to see that they're consistent with it. Number 6, Ole Miss hosts Kentucky. Ole Miss a 16-point favorite in this one. Look, we saw what Kentucky did to Georgia, and they were able to shut down Georgia. I feel like Ole Miss's offense is a little bit better than Georgia's, though. Also, Kentucky was at home against Georgia. Ole Miss, I think, will win this game. I think they will cover that 16. I think it's very possible, though, that Kentucky will actually cover as well. I've been looking at this game all week, and I'm just like, man, I feel like it could go either way, where Kentucky's going to either play this really close and Ole Miss barely squeaks by, or Ole Miss is going to fucking fly high. I feel like it'd be, if this was a home game for Kentucky, it would be a much closer game than this. So give me Ole Miss to win and cover. I'm going to be fucking eating my fucking words on Tuesday's episode. I can almost guarantee it now. Now that I say it, Kentucky's going to play it close, but either way, Ole Miss wins. But yeah, give me Ole Miss to win and cover.
Yeah, this is, yet another fucking Heisman candidate. Already 4 games into the season. Jackson Dart, over 1,500 yards passing. 2 less touchdowns than Cam Ward, so he's sitting at 12-2. But again, a 6-1 touchdown to pick ratio isn't bad. Again, you're playing a Kentucky team that played Georgia very close, and they gave Georgia, their first scare of the season and bumped them down to number 2 behind Texas. I mean, obviously Texas in the season they're having is phenomenal, so very, deservedly Georgia was bumped down, but I think this Ole Miss offense is a different beast, and I think Ole Miss will win and cover. but it will be a very close cover.
Yeah, I really feel like Kentucky, if this was at home, would at least play this close and would cover that, and Ole Miss wins by touchdown, maybe by 10. But I just feel like because it's Ole Miss at home, that's the only reason why they will be able to cover. Number 23, Kansas State hosts number 20, Oklahoma State. This game might settle who's joining Utah in the Big 12 championship game. This game right here could very much ride on that. Kansas State, a 5-point favorite in this one. I'm rolling with Oklahoma State. Kansas State has not really been too impressive this year. They got blown out by BYU last week. And Oklahoma State, while they do have a loss on the record as well to Utah, I just feel like they're a better team than Kansas State right now. They're playing at a higher level. This is going to be a grinding game, though, I think. It is going to be low scoring. I think the winner, no matter what, is going to come out only winning by a maximum of 7 here. But give me Oklahoma State to win and cover. I just don't have faith in Kansas State right now. How they're still ranked after losing to BYU, getting embarrassed by BYU, by the way. I don't know how, but yeah, give me Oklahoma State to win and cover here.
Yeah, I am also with you. Give me Oklahoma State to win and cover. I mean, the fact that Kansas State went and played Arizona and beat them 31-7, just to follow it up by losing to BYU 38-9. It's not a good look, and I think this is gonna, like you said, this is gonna show who's gonna be in the Big 12 championship at the end of the year with Utah, and this is gonna give Oklahoma State with this win a chance at the team that did put that loss on their record, and maybe, who knows, Cam Rising would be back for that.
Yeah, that'd be such a great game or good rematch. But yeah, a lot's riding on this game for both these teams to stay in that fight for the Big 12 championship game. So, but yeah, Devils numbers 5. Give me Oklahoma State to win on the road. Baylor hosts number 22 BYU, and we talked about it. BYU surprised us last week. They're 4-0 on the year, and I don't think we had them at 4-0 to start the year when we did the Big 12 preview. But they've been impressive so far this year, especially with that big statement win last week. Baylor comes into this game a 3-point favorite. Look, Baylor, like it or not, it's a pretty tough place to play in Waco. It really, really is. I wouldn't say it's a top 25, but I think the weather definitely makes it tough to play in Waco at this time of year. And, when Baylor's good, it's a pretty tough environment to play in. Again, I wouldn't say it's a top 25 place to play in, or difficult place to play in, but still a tough place to play in. But BYU's been impressive this year. I don't know how sustainable this run that they're having so far is, but Baylor's kind of a floundering team right now in the Big 12, and they have been really since RG3 left. I am going to take I'm going to take BYU to win this game. I'm honestly surprised Baylor is favored in this one, but I think that's where it kind of comes in where I said, how sustainable is this for BYU? But I just think BYU, they've got something going right now. And I think it's going to keep riding out at least through this week. So give me BYU to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you here. I think Baylor being favored is kind of weird, but at the end of the day, BYU right now, one of the biggest wins of the season outside of, Northern Illinois over Notre Dame, with, what they, just straight disrespected Kansas State. I think they're going to go to Baylor and they're going to win. They're going to cover that 3. And, they could probably win it by a touchdown or more. Baylor has not impressed me with what they've done throughout the year so far. They beat up on, Tarleton State 45-3. That's nobody's school. They beat the Chair Force Academy, That's nobody. Sorry, you're a service academy. All due respect, but, it is what it is. You barely lost to Colorado, 38-31. It's not a good loss. And then you lost to Cam Rising, throwing 2 touchdowns in the first half, like when that game with Utah against Utah, and that alone would have been enough for them to win because the offense, in total only scored 12 points. So Baylor is not instilling me with any, uh, confidence in this one. So give me BYU to win and cover and maybe win big.
Number 13, USC hosts Wisconsin. USC a 15.5 point favorite in this one. Look, Michigan was all over Miller Moss last week, and they kind of exposed all the weaknesses of USC last week on both sides of the ball. USC's not very good at stopping the run. They're a lot better than they were last year because they actually tackle people and aren't running away from people to tackle them from behind. Um, but and then offensively, the offensive line isn't that good. I mean, granted, Mason Graham is the best defensive lineman in college football right now, so that obviously helps Michigan defensively get to Miller Moss as much as he did. But Miller Moss played very, very poised and composed, even when that pocket was collapsing around him, and all that pressure that he faced. He still was able to make good throws. Wisconsin's defense is not nearly as good. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Kyle Van Dyke is playing this week. I can't find an injury report anywhere, but if he doesn't play, it's going to spill big, big problems for Wisconsin because it's an air raid offense. So it's kind of tough when you don't have your starting quarterback in for that kind of an offense. I am going to take USC to win. I am going to take them to cover as well. I just think, again, Michigan, obviously a much better team than Wisconsin is. Wisconsin's good in their own right, don't get me wrong, but I just think USC's a lot better. And USC almost won last week. They ultimately didn't, but yeah, give me USC to win and cover here. I just think, they're going to bounce back. They're a much better team than Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's a lot worse than Michigan. So yeah, give me USC to win and cover.
Yeah, I'm also taking USC to win and cover. Wisconsin's last game was against Alabama and was a ranked team, and they lost 42-10 at home. This one is in USC, or at USC. It's in California. I'm not instilled with any confidence here for Wisconsin whatsoever. USC almost beat Michigan. Miller Moss had a pretty rough day because of Michigan's defense, but again, Michigan has a very good defense. Wisconsin is not Michigan's defense whatsoever. So give me USC to win and cover. This might be a rough one for Wisconsin.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a blowout. Number 16, Notre Dame hosts number 15, Louisville. Notre Dame, a 7-point favorite in this game. I'm going to roll with Louisville in this one. I really, really like their offense especially. They're going to struggle against Notre Dame's defense because Notre Dame's defense is really, really good. As much as I hate to say it, because I absolutely hate Notre Dame. I wish that school would burn to the ground. But the offense for Notre Dame is not inspiring. I think Louisville's defense can do a good enough job. I mean, NIU was able to hold them to 14 points. So, I mean, I think Louisville's defense is a lot better than NIU. So, give me Louisville to win this one with the big upset in South Bend.
Yeah, I'm also with you here. Give me Louisville to win and upset Notre Dame for the second time this year. Notre Dame's offense has been atrocious all year. And Louisville has been playing a hell of a season so far. We're 3-0. They beat Georgia Tech, who beat Florida State week 1. They beat them by 12. So obviously this Louisville offense is playing really well. They played, I believe, 2 FCS schools, or this might be a D. No, this Jacksonville State is an FCS. Isn't it?
Yeah, Jacksonville State is now FBS. They were FCS 2 years ago, but last year they moved to the FBS.
Gotcha. So yeah, they beat Jacksonville State and Austin P. So yeah, 2 teams that they should have beat, and they just blew them out. Georgia Tech is more a respectable win. But yeah, like I said, Notre Dame offense is not that good. Give me Louisville to win and cover.
Yeah, I just think, if NIU's defense can hold Notre Dame to 14 points, I almost can guarantee you Louisville's defense can even do better than that. So, yeah, Notre Dame's offense not good this year. They really, really aren't, and losing Joe Alt definitely shows that as well. Like that, they got a brand new left tackle there, and he's good, but he's just very inexperienced, and he's not nearly just as physically good as Joe Alt was either. So that's part of why Notre Dame's offense is struggling a good amount. Auburn hosts number 21 Oklahoma. The spread is even on this one, which tells me Oklahoma might be overrated, just so you know. Give me Auburn to win this one. This is at home. They got a good taste of SEC football last week to Tennessee, and they're going to learn again. Auburn, they haven't been that impressive this year, but they always played tough in the SEC. Despite not having the talent of Tennessee or Georgia or Alabama or Ole Miss even. But Oklahoma, we know this is not a team. We know this is a team that's not completely ready for the SEC like Texas was. And yeah, I don't trust Oklahoma at all in this spot on the road in a very tough environment to play in Auburn. So yeah, give me Auburn to win this one. Obviously, there is no spread because it's the spread is even here. But give me Auburn by a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what happens when a ranked Alabama team has gone to Auburn, right? Walking them off with a kick six and all that. This is SEC ball, and Oklahoma is not going to be ready for this. Give me Auburn to win, and they're going to win by... Hell, they might even win by another walk-off kick six. But no, I think it's going to be a walk-off field goal. And Auburn wins. Upsets number 21.
Yeah, and when we did the SEC preview, we talked about this game specifically for Oklahoma being a toss-up game. And Vegas clearly thinks this is going to be a toss-up game with, the spread being set to even, right? So, I just don't see how in their first year in the SEC, playing Auburn on the road, how they can just pull off an upset win. It's possible, right? But I just think Auburn, it is a tough place to play in, and especially, those fans show out when a ranked team comes to town. So it's going to be a tough game for Oklahoma here. But yeah, give me Auburn to win by a field goal. Number 24, Texas A&M. How the fuck they're ranked, I don't know, but they are. They host Arkansas. Texas A&M, a 5.5-point favorite in this one. Arkansas has been fairly surprising this year. Their offense has actually looked pretty good, something I wasn't completely expecting. Give me Arkansas to win this one in an upset. I know Texas A&M, top 5, tough place to play in college sports, maybe even sports in general. Very, very tough place to play. But Texas A&M sucks. They are so overrated. How they're still ranked, I genuinely do not know, especially after last week's performance. Struggling against who was it? Struggling against Bowling Green at home. When you struggle against a fucking MAC school, a really bad MAC school in Bowling Green at that, you got some fucking problems. Give me Arkansas to get the upset here.
Yeah, I am also taking Arkansas to get the upset here. We saw Notre Dame go into College Station week 1, get the win, 23-13. And if Notre Dame is able to score 23 points against you and get a win, that's a problem, right? We've seen Notre Dame struggle, a lot this year to score points. So I am also with you. Give me Arkansas to win.
Number 1, Texas hosts Mississippi State. Texas, a 37.5-point favorite. Give me Texas to win and cover. I'm not sure Quinn Ewers' status yet. I believe he is going to be playing, but I haven't seen anything for sure. But if he does, it doesn't matter if he does or not, honestly. Honestly, if he's questionable, I'd just fucking bench him and let Arch play because Mississippi State is garbage. Texas is going to win and cover, no fucking problem here, no matter who's starting at QB. Mississippi State blows, man. They really, really do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Mississippi State, your three losses are to Arizona State, Toledo, and they lost to Toledo 41-17, mind you, and then they lost to Florida. I'm not.
How do you lose to Florida, bro? Let alone Toledo.
You got smoked by Toledo and Florida. Like, it's embarrassing what they're doing right now. Give me Texas to win and cover, regardless of who's starting.
Michigan State hosts number 3 Ohio State. Ohio State a 23.5-point favorite in this one. This is a night game in East Lansing. I obviously, as a Michigan fan, I fucking hate both of these teams. I hate Ohio State a lot more than I hate Michigan State, though. But I really hate Michigan State, too. Don't get me wrong. That said, I think Ohio State's going to win here. I do not think they cover. I think Michigan State, they're the only way, actually, I think Michigan State doesn't allow Ohio State to cover that 23.5 is going to rest on Aiden Childs. He's good. He's 18 years old. He makes stupid mistakes a lot, and I get it. You know, he's 18 years old in college football for his first season ever. It's going to be tough for him. He throws a lot of interceptions. If he can just calm down a little bit, and you know, take his time, make the right reads so he doesn't throw interceptions, he'll at least keep his team in this game. But that's going to rest on him. I think he can do it. It's just I don't know. I think Ohio State, obviously, much, much, much better team than Michigan State on both sides of the ball in terms of talent. We make the jokes, Ohio State's a paid-for team. They're not a built team, right? And I mean, it's very true, given their NIL deals and everything. But this is a game, I think this is going to be a bit of a test for Ohio State. I mean, they haven't played any real team at all this year, and Michigan State's probably the realest team that they will play so far through now 5 weeks or 4 weeks for them. So yeah, give me Ohio State to win, but they don't cover this one.
Yeah, I'm also with you. I do not think Ohio State covers, and I think it's less to do with the quarterback and offensive play for Michigan State and more to do with their defense. I still really like that Michigan State defense. Now, obviously, this Ohio State offense is on their own level, realistically speaking. But I think genuinely this is probably the best team Ohio State has played on their schedule right now. And, it being Michigan State isn't saying much. But at the end of the day, this defense, and they're playing at home, Sparty likes to play ball. We'll see. I don't think Ohio State walks away covering, but I think they get the win.
I'll tell you right now, I mean, I hate both of these teams, but I don't think Michigan State will do it, but I am going to be praying Michigan State wins this game. I would fucking piss myself laughing, man. I would love to see it. As much as I hate Sparty, I hate Ohio State more.
College football
And
would be
if Michigan State wins this game, they have to be in the top 20. They have to be in the top 20 if they win this game. Like, it's not going to happen, but I sure as fuck hope it does. Number 17, Clemson hosts Stanford. Clemson, a 21.5-point favorite in this one. Stanford getting their first taste of ACC football because, nothing says ACC like Oakland, California. Anyways, Clemson, I think they win and covered. Stanford blows. I mean, they've got a 2-1 record this year. They beat Syracuse pretty handedly. They played close, well, not handedly, but they upset Syracuse on the road. And then they almost beat TCU. But yeah, give me Clemson a win and cover here. I think this is going to be obviously a lot different road game for Stanford compared to Syracuse in the ACC. But Clemson's obviously a much, much better team than Syracuse, so give me Clemson to win and cover.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really high on Clemson after the week 1 loss against Georgia. But I mean, putting up 66 points against App State the next week, and then absolutely manhandling NC State the following week. Just really, I mean, this is going to be a Clemson win here. Like, I can say nothing less right now. Clemson is doing a lot better than I thought they would have. I expected a loss to Georgia week 1, but I kind of expected them to lose to NC State here week 3, but they didn't. And now here we are, and here I am saying Clemson's going to win this one, and they're going to cover.
Yeah, the way they handled NC State, I think, is the reason why I think they will cover this one.
Agreed.
They looked awful against Georgia, especially offensively, but we know how good Georgia's defense is at the same time, right? So you got to kind of weigh that out a little bit, but they've definitely improved. They look a lot more comfortable, and that's what keeps a team flowing. Houston hosts number 18 Iowa State. Iowa State is 16-point favorite in this one. Look, I'm not too high on Iowa State. They are a good team. They got that nice upset win on the road against Iowa, which is why they're ranked. They're 3-0 to start the year. Things are going good in Iowa State. I think, no one really expected them to beat Iowa, but here they are. Houston blows. Give me Iowa State to win and cover. I mean, I got nothing to say about Houston. They're just so bad.
Yeah, I mean, they played Oklahoma pretty close, but other than that, it's just been bad. They lost 20 points to UNLV week 1, and then they lost last week to Cincinnati 34-0. Give me Iowa State to win and cover.
Yeah. Probably the game of the week. Number 4 Bama hosts number 2 Georgia. Georgia a 1-point favorite in this game. I think winner of this game goes up to number 1 this week, unless they're still going to count the Michigan road win for Texas higher than, say, Georgia road win against Bama. I don't see how. Look, Kalen DeBoer has been pretty impressive so far, but now he gets to play an SEC team. So we'll see how his offense and see how his coaching style goes against a SEC defense and one of, if not the best defenses in the country right now. Both these teams obviously stacked with talent, and it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a very high-scoring game, I think, and it's going to be very, very close. Give me Georgia to win. They obviously cover at 1, no matter what. They win by 1 point. They still cover. So give me Georgia to win and obviously cover at that 1.
I'm gonna take Bama. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that close game against Kentucky, especially it being an away game for Georgia. I'm just sitting there. I'm a little uneasy here if I'm Georgia, because you just played an away game and you barely got out of there. You got 13 points against Kentucky. This is Alabama. They are the other top dog of the SEC before Texas got in. You got to be willing to play your big boy ball here. You got to have your A+ game. This is a home game for Alabama. I'm taking Bama to win and cover.
I think the only reason why I'm not taking Bama in this one, if it was Nick Saban still, I would 100% take Bama every fucking time. But, Kirby Smart, he's been in the SEC for a while, obviously, coaching Georgia. It's the first time Kalen DeBoer has played SEC football. Yes, it is a home game, and that's going to be a huge advantage for Bama. But I just think Kirby Smart is going to find a way to get this win over Bama. That said, if Bama beats Georgia, they have to go to number 1. They have to go to number 1, right? Like, I'm not that crazy, right, to think that. Like,
it's arguably one of the biggest ranked wins in the season.
Yes,
it's a top 5 win. And I don't know how many others have had those.
Right. Basically, I think for either of these teams, it's a ticket to the SEC title game. Plain and simple. I think they both have to play Texas this year. I'm not 100% on that, but either way, I think this is a ticket to the SEC title game for for either of these teams. So it's a lot's riding on this game, and it's only week 5. Like, what the fuck, man? Number 9, Penn State hosts number 19, Illinois. Penn State, a 19.5-point favorite in this one. Look, through the first 3 games for Penn State this year, Drew Aller, a guy who I clowned on the last few years because I don't think he's that good of a quarterback, he's figured it. He's figured it the fuck out. He is the highest graded quarterback through 3 weeks on PFF. He looks really good. He's very efficient with the ball. He makes great reads. I don't think he's got the talent that Miller Moss has, but he's definitely got the IQ and the smarts to play in the NFL, and I think he could be a good NFL quarterback this year because I think he will declare for the draft this year. But anyways, Illinois, obviously big upset win over Nebraska on the road last week on Friday. Really impressive win. Illinois has been playing out of their mind this year, but I think they're going to play, obviously, a much tougher opponent in a much tougher environment in Penn State. Penn State's going to win this one. They don't cover that 19.5, though. I think Penn State wins big, but they don't win that big.
Yeah, I think that 19.5 is a little disrespectful to Illinois. They're playing a hell of a season so far. You know, like you said, they went to Kansas, or I don't know if they went to Kansas. Or no, they played Kansas at home, and at the time Kansas was a ranked team, and they beat them, 23-17. So they have right now Illinois has 2 ranked wins on their schedule, and then last week against Nebraska in overtime. So they have a pretty good resume as of right now. Penn State is a different beast. Penn State is obviously a different category of a Big Ten team than Nebraska. Nebraska's pretty good. Penn State is one of the Big Ten competitors this year, right? Or at least Big Ten hopefuls, you would assume. They're number 9 right now, and I think they're gonna potentially push for a playoff spot, even if they don't win the Big Ten. So give me Penn State to win, but they don't cover.
I mean, realistically, Penn State could go 11-1 this year. That one loss would obviously be to Ohio State. But yeah, I mean, Penn State's just really good. And like I said, Drew Aller has really turned into a good quarterback. Like, I wouldn't say he's a great quarterback in college football, but he's really good. And I think that's gonna help them out a lot. And again, also, it is a home game for Penn State, so again, it's a top 5 tough place to play in college football. So, yeah. And it's a night game in Happy Valley. Good fucking luck. Number 14, LSU hosts South Alabama. LSU a 20.5-point favorite in this one. Look, LSU has struggled this year. They really have. Obviously, they had the loss to USC in a game that they could have won. They just didn't. But the offense has really struggled. The defense also isn't there as much as you'd like it to be. South Alabama's not really that good, though. Give me LSU to win and cover this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a game where LSU is going to look good on paper because it's, they're going to win and they should cover. But, it's against a South Alabama team that isn't, big or, Power 5 competitive. They might be good wherever, they're placed in the Sun Belt. They're 2-2 right now, so they might not be the greatest, right? But LSU also hasn't looked the greatest, but again, the talent difference in this one is going to be very evident, so give me LSU to win and cover.
Number 25, Boise State hosts Washington State. Boise State, a 6.5-point favorite in this one. Boise State, new member to the Pac-12, starting next year. Obviously, Wazoo, we know, in the Pac-2 currently. But, look, Boise State's got one of, if not the best running backs in the country right now with Genty. 56 carries for 586 yards and 9 touchdowns this year. He is really good. So's Washington State, though. They've been, well, I wouldn't say they're really good, but they've had some good wins. I mean, Texas Tech was a big win. They beat Washington this year. They did struggle against San Jose State last week. They went to 2 overtimes to end up winning it. They're 4-0 on the year though. Boise State's their first real test though. I think Boise State will win and they will cover. But this is going to be also a very high scoring game. I don't trust Washington State's offense really at all. Or not their offense, their defense at all, especially against this Boise State run game. And Boise State's defense is not good. So, yeah, this is going to be a very, very high scoring game. The total set at 65.5. I think that's going to go over because of the lack of defense from these teams. But, yeah, give me Boise State to win and cover that 6.5.
Yeah, I am also taking Boise State to win, and they will not cover. This is going to be a shootout. Washington State just, got into that, 54-52 shootout against San Jose State. And we know Boise State can put on the points. So I might sit back and watch this one. It is a later game, here on the East Coast, but it's not that late. So I might sit up and watch it just to see, because it's going to be a game of the offense. Yeah, Boise State to win and cover.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game to watch. The Pac-12 at night, basically, or after dark, whatever the fuck it's called. Number 10, Utah hosts Arizona. Utah, an 8-point favorite in this one. I'm not too sure on the Cam Rising situation yet, but Utah a much better team than Arizona is for sure. Even without Cam Rising, Wilson has done a pretty damn good job, stepping in as quarterback the last couple weeks now. I think Utah wins and covers regardless of who's at quarterback. I really do hope Cam Rising is back, at least if not this week, next week for sure. But yeah, look, Arizona, I think they're a good team this year. Obviously, they had that tough loss, I think, in week 2. I really like this Utah team. They are the favorite for the Big 12, obviously, and I think they will win the Big 12. Give me Utah to win and cover. They are just really, really talented all around, and for the most part, they're still healthy. Just no Cam Rising, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with Arizona when they played Kansas State, who then blew it against BYU. But like you said, Utah is just very talented, and they are right now, in my eyes, and probably a lot of people's eyes, the Big 12 favorite, even without Cam Rising. Give me Utah to win and cover.
And then last but not least, we got 2 former Pac-12 teams playing against each other, but it's Big 10 football now. UCLA hosting number 8 Oregon, 11 o'clock Saturday night game. Obviously, this used to be a Pac-12 after dark game, but now it's a Big 10 after dark game. I like the sound of that. Oregon comes into this game a 25.5-point favorite. UCLA is the worst team in the Big 10. Give me Oregon to win and cover big on this one.
Yeah, I am with you. UCLA might keep it close in the first half like they did against LSU, but at the end of the game, it's going to be all Oregon. Yeah, give me Oregon to win and cover.
Yeah, obviously we know Oregon struggled to start the year, especially against Idaho, which a team they should have just blown the fuck out, but they didn't. Week 2, they didn't look all too good against Boise State, at least defensively. But now the offense has really come alive. Dylan Gabriel's come alive, so yeah, this is going to be a big, big win for Oregon because UCLA blows. Like, can UCLA just go back to the Pac-12? Like, honestly, like, please. We already have a Purdue. Like we don't need another Purdue, okay? So anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap us up for this weekend preview. Obviously Tuesday we will review everything, both NFL and college. With that said, guys, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you guys want to see more of course. Look, hockey season's right around the corner. We got preseason hockey already started. MLB playoffs are a week away. which is very, very exciting. Go Tigers, by the way. Uh, yeah, so with that said, guys, thank you guys so much again for listening. Follow us on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it, at the Andrew and Ian Show. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.